Hey everyone, Zhonos here. We're back with some more 9Kings, and I thought I would just get the rest of the cards out there in one big mega video. That way, everyone doesn't have to suffer through my tier list videos, and we can get back to gameplay. So let's just go in order and rank everything. And this will be roughly at the time of patch 19. Patch 20 did make a few small changes, but the changes were very, very minimal. Mostly bug fixes. No units should really change their ranking. Paladins got a little bit of movement speed, but I don't think they're going to move anywhere. And then, yeah, they mostly were fixing quests. So overall, we're going to just run with this tier list as it is. And you know what? I'm changing the tier list a little bit. I'm going to make tier lists for every faction by themselves someday, but that day doesn't have to be today. So basically this is just all the cards compared to all the other cards, just blanket statement for everything. That way we can keep it simple, and later on maybe I might make tier lists that specifically target certain kings. So if you're playing the king of nothing, maybe I can make a new list that lets you see all the cards. We're also not going to include rainbow cards just yet because they're all absolutely broken, busted, broken, and those probably deserve their own tier list because they're just a different category. You only see them twice typically anyway, or during Lunatic. So let's, without wasting any more time, let's just blast through these cards. I'm not going to explain how they work. I feel like if we keep this short and quick, hopefully it will have a lot of content that's useful for everybody, because I assume everyone just skips to the end of the video. So let's go. Boar. I think Boar is really funny. It's a meme card. Let's put him by the Warlock. Clone. Clone is really, really good. It's at worst the same as a wild card, but often you can copy things that are high value and make a new plot out of it. I'm going to put it above the Boar. It has a lot of uses. I might even put above these two. I'm going to put it there for now. Elf. Elf is okay. They're a decent unit. I'm going to put them at the top of B for now, and we'll think later as we move on to Forest. So health is probably one of the better stats to buff. Is it better than Farm though? I'm not sure. I'm going to put them in this tier together for now. They seem like they're doing similar things, but they... Maybe here. I'll put it here for now. Mycelium. Mycelium is actually not terrible, but they're not that good. They're decent early on, but I don't know if I would push them much higher out of B. Orchard. I really like orchards, but I'm going to put them in the bottom of B. They're very good early game. They're really lackluster later on, unless you just go all in on orchards. But even then, even in like endless or something, it won't really help you. Poison Vial. I think Poison Vial is a bottom of C. It's like a worse static. So it benefits from attack speed units like Archer, but you can't put it on attack speed towers, which is where a lot of high attack speed power happens. So whereas static would still scale really well with attack speed because it chains and has a base of 9. Poison Vial is still only 1. This is only enabled with units that have like AoE hit. If Warlocks do actually hit an AoE and cleave, then it's okay after you get a policy or two of Venom that gets you double stacks every time you apply 1 stack. I think C is fine. Procreate. Procreate is great. I'm just going to throw it up here right next to Steel Coat. I think it's amazing. It makes a lot of really strong units even better. Treant. Treant is actually a pretty good base. I'm going to put it at the bottom, top of B tier for now, but it could be bottom of A. Like a lot of the bases are really good, honestly. That's all of nature. Let's move on to Greed. Beacon is, I think, on average, the best buffing lot. Is it? Because it affects bases. I'm going to put it at the bottom of A for now, because it can buff bases, and bases are usually some of your best units. It's sad because Farm is really good for like a few key units. I think because defenders are weak, I'm okay with farm being worse than the beacon. Dispenser. Dispenser is bottom of B now. It was down here. They changed the AI to hit multiple targets, so it like spreads its fire constantly instead of just focusing on one unit. And the attack speed cap greatly improved the dispenser. In fact, I think I'll move it above the orchard. Orchard might be C. Hurts me to say so. Mercenary. Mercenary, I think, is okay. Maybe I'll put them above the archer. The problem with the mercenary is you need your money, as the king agreed. And you're not really going to use the mercenary in other factions. I'm actually going to put it by the dispenser, honestly. I think they're like similar. They're niche, okay, and king agreed. They're not good anywhere else. Dispenser needs to be here because it's only good in king agreed. Midas Touch. Midas Touch is decent, but I don't think it's better than Static. We're ignoring endless mode for the most part here. So because of that, I'm going to actually put it below the mercenary. Yeah, I'll put it here for now. Mortgage. Mortgage helps sometimes, but I think overall it's a C tier card. You don't really want to be destroying your plots for gold. Unless you're using slimes. In fact, I think, yeah, right around here is probably right. Overinvest is great, but you need money. It would be here if it didn't like cost the 30 gold, obviously. So it's kind of a win more card. But if you are just selling cards or you can generate extra gold, it's pretty good. Because it costs money, I'm going to put it around by wild card. It feels similar power level. Palace. So this was debatably the best base in the game. Definitely A rank before they nerfed it. It still kind of works the same. But I'm going to put the bottom of A. Maybe, no, it's bottom of A. So 999 damage typically kills everything anyway for until King 99. And even King 99, early game, it will one-shot everything, which is what really matters. And you get the gold generation. Thieves. Thieves have a great utility because they jump into the back line, but they don't scale at all. I'm tempted to put Thieves. So they're terrible as your main unit, but they're good as a one-of. I'm going to put them by the archer. They have utility because they jump in the back, which makes the enemy clump up, which helps your AoE like a castle. So they have utility, but don't rely on them for anything other than grouping up the enemy and delaying them for a moment. Vault is probably around here. You don't really need the gold. Vault is basically it's like a blank card that you can offering away or overhaul, but you get 3 gold for a turn or two until you get rid of it. That's kind of how I look at the vault. In fact, because of that, I'm going to move it by the mortgage, I think. Bomber. Bomber is F tier. I should play with them more, but if it just dies instantly, because of the AI, I think they're just not good enough, and they need way more damage for them to be good enough. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be misjudging them, and they're actually C tier. I'm going to put them in F for now. Carnage, A tier. Maybe below, maybe around here. Carnage only works when you have decent HP. It's absolutely amazing in high HP, but it also only works if the enemy is nearby when your units die. And it doesn't always work that way. More Carnage stacks only increases the AoE as well, so it's not as powerful as more Steel Coats, for example. So you only get the 10% of your HP in the AoE. This just destroys a King of Blood, though, and to get Carnage, you're usually facing King of Blood, so really good, honestly. Really, really, really good. Just getting 1 or 2 stacks of these can suddenly make you beat King of Blood every single time if you're running an HP unit like a Paladin. Cemetery. Cemetery is S. This basically helps almost every king in the game beat high difficulty just by itself, thanks to the other high strength cards like Steel Coat and others we will see later. Demon's Altar is very reliant on dying. They're okay in lower difficulties because they have a lot of health, but they're statted poorly. They're like a lot of health and not a lot of everything else, and you can't get more demons unless you use regression to cheat more levels. So you only get 3 by default per Demon's Altar, and that's a bit of a waste of a plot. Imps are pretty good. I like imps. They have good synergy with the steel coat. They only really scale off a steel coat though, but if you're blood, you're going to be using a cemetery, right? So imps with the steel coat and the cemetery means you just have more bodies that can soak damage. So for that reason, I think they're better than mercenary. I think they're better than the archer too, honestly. I'm going to put them around here for now. Mangler's F. Actually, we need another tier. Can I make another tier? If I could make another tier, I would, but I guess I should keep things organized. It's the bottom of F. It's the worst card in the game. Not even close. Pagoda. Pagoda is the worst base in the game, but it has its uses. It's the thief. It's a thief in base form. You basically... Okay, so it doesn't work the same. So they will jump to the back, but the enemy will ignore the imps for as long as possible. But... Actually, they just always ignore these imps. But... you can drop these on the back line and destroy their dangerous units, at least early game. So they have a similar role to Thief, in that they can at least get rid of or help deal with backline threats. It's not the exact same as Thief, but it's utility. So I like the base here. It's probably one of the weaker bases though, for sure. Sacrifice is not very good. I usually sell it more often than not. You could get a big return on it, but usually your setup is pre-planned. You've already like organized. So when you're getting sacrifices, usually from offerings, you don't have really the ability to destroy a plot because you've often already invested resources in the plot you would have to sacrifice. So you'd have to put something new on the outskirts. So that's 1-2 cards to level up 2 plots. It's not very good. Sometimes it can be okay. In fact, I'm going to drop it down here. I should drop it down here. Vampirism. I also don't like vampirism. I think vampirism is terrible. It should be good. You'd think it'd be good. And maybe it's just hard for me to judge. Maybe it actually is B. But I've never seen it actually do anything. Even with a ton of stacks. I don't even know what the stacks do. The problem is a lot of your units in high difficulty get one shot. So it doesn't matter if you're life stealing 25% of your damage. If you die in one hit, it doesn't matter. So I'm putting him here. Camp is really good. I like camp a lot. It's at least as good as a beacon. It does require some setup, but even if you don't use things like migration, if you could just offering things away and then place them back down again, or earthworks things away and place them back down, you can get a lot of power really quickly with a camp. I'm going to put it here above the boar. I actually think it's better. Might be better than the castles. I'm going to put it here for now. Dragon's Den is bad. It's really bad. It has decent like numbers theoretically, but it doesn't align and the lines are fairly thin. The enemy does kind of like, you could put down like 2 or 3 and hit almost the whole army because of how the enemy AI paths. But still, like the way you scale these is by destroying tiles. It's very niche for its own faction and it's still not that good. I'm going to do Frost is okay. Put it top of C, I guess. It reduces the enemy damage, but you have to apply it to them. So the best way to do that is a defender. Defenders that can take a few hits. And then if all the enemies hitting the defenders, they all get Frost applied. Next best is like Orbiter or something. More stacks of Frost doesn't do anything, by the way. Like I'm almost 99% sure that it does nothing. Unless you have the King of Nomads decree that gives you a poison effect based on your stacks of Frost. Here, honestly, I would rate it lower, but 1 stack is okay. Migration's great. I like Migration. Migration gets you out of a lot of weird pickles. And you can abuse camp. You get the stats if you can move it. But if you're set up with cemeteries and you can't move around, then you need 2 migrations or else you'll just move your unit. Like I have my paladin next to the cemetery and then I move him over and now he's not next to the cemetery anymore. He's over here. So I need to be able to move him back. So sometimes you have to wait for 2 migrations. In their own faction, this is just absolutely broken card. So what's this? Migration put at the bottom of A. Because it can get you out of a lot of pickles, move you onto the prophecy tiles and so on. Extremely high utility in the right cases and always great stat boost. Mob units are pretty bad. I think they're around here. They're good in the, they're not even good. They're required in the Nomads, but they're still not good units. You'll need things like imps, which give 13 per level to really scale the mob unit count, and then you can use steel coats and cemeteries. But you're like reliant on these two. And in other factions, I would never run a mob. Just highly unnecessary. It would be to buff a cemetery and steel coat, but the problem is mobs have to be adjacent to a unit. And with the steel, with the cemetery, you want to have a unit and then a cemetery and another unit. But with mobs, they only grow if you have them directly adjacent to a unit. So then you get really bad efficiency. So why even run the mob? If you're going to use cemeteries, you just might as well put an imp here and put an imp here. They're not good enough. Either if my ranking changes because I'm moving stuff around, whoops. I guess they can hang out by the soldiers. They're kind of worse than soldiers. They're right here. Raptors. I like raptors. Raptors have their uses. They're like a thief. They're a little better though. Maybe put them next to the archer. They're kind of like boars. You know what? They're kind of like boars. I'm gonna put them next to the wizard. No, static is better than them. I'll put them here. So like they're like boars, but their scaling isn't nearly as insane. It's very linear because they just scale fairly. They share the stats with whatever. But the most important thing is they jump in the back line like thieves. But they actually might live longer than thieves. So I'll keep them here. And moving some units back in the back line might have some utility. Shields. Shields are amazing. Swords are mid. I'll put them bottom of B. So shields are probably around here. Early game shields are like here. Mid and late game shields are, yeah, right about here. So maybe we balance it out and we put them here. Maybe I even put them here. Depending on the unit, like shields are just required. You must have shields. The flat increase is so much better than percent increase. It's not even funny. The lower the starting health, the better shields are. Until you go over 100 HP, ignoring, say, you're running perks or whatever. For the Nomad faction specifically. Or you get the Nomad policy. Ignoring that, just the regular effect of shields. Shields are, like, required. And guess what? The cemetery imps inherit the shields. It's busted. They also inherit the swords. I guess I'll put swords around here. It's probably unfair to rate them at the bottom. Yeah, that's probably better. Warlords. Warlords, obviously, is just a base for their own faction. I would say compared to the bases, they're pretty mid. I guess I'll put them here. Pound for pound, they're probably... I'll put them by the raptor. They're good. They're good, but you need to buff them a bunch of shields and swords. Or other things that make their base stats really high. And they have low unit count, so you need things like procreate or farms. So, I think that's fair. Concabulator is kind of trash. It can hang out by sacrifice. Theoretically, it's really good, but it takes so many resources to get the Concabulator, and I would rather buff Overhaul instead. So this is kind of a junk card. You could do funny things with Earthworks, but I've really soured on Concabulator. It's just meh. Converter is also pretty meh. I'm going to put it right here, though, because there is a use for it. You need one converter if your army can't hurt the enemy champion, and you need a way to kill the champion. The converter will kill a champion for you, as long as you killed all of the other units on the enemy side. It's slow. It scales very badly. You cannot rely on it for anything else, but the fact that it will win you the fight against a champion every single time, as long as your units can kill the rest of the enemy units or just outlive them. So like you're running defenders or something which can't attack, and the enemy champion doesn't take the reflect damage. So although now they did buff defenders to reflect the King of Nature's AoE, still though, basically if you have an enemy champion that will be unkillable with your strat, but you could kill everything else. Converter will bail you out. So I'm going to put it here for that reason. And that reason alone. It's down here otherwise. Defender got nerfed. It used to be S tier. I think around here is correct. That they're still okay, but on level they only get 40% HP from 100. It used to be 100%. So they're just neutered. Like they have fun synergies on proc. They can do static, they can do frost, they can do poison when they get hit. So it's like the paladin where you just need to stack a ton of HP. But they have like the same stats as the paladin pretty much. And the paladin can actually attack. And I think for that reason alone, and have an attack stat, which means you could do things like raptors, you could do things like boars, and the paladins, you scale damage anyway, because when you want HP, you might as well also scale their damage as they double dip. I think paladins just overtook the defenders as the beefy unit, them and boars. Defenders just got destroyed. They're sadly still better than some of these other units though. I don't think they're worse than thieves or archers. I guess you could argue here. Let's put them here for now. Executioner. Executioner is pretty memey. They're tankier than archers. They have lower attack, but if you could put a swords on them or some statics, then they start doing better than the archers. I guess. But they're a really similar role. I think actually I'll do this. I think this feels okay to me. Lab rats are only good in the King of Progress. If it's King of Progress, lab rats are maybe here. If it's any other faction, they are here. Maybe not here. They're yeah, about here. Yeah, let's put the rats. Let's even it out and put them right here. Mothership. Mothership is pretty decent. It's like a slightly weaker castle because you have to move the cursor around. So it has to go wobble its way over to the spot, but it has higher AoE scaling, at least, than the castle. I guess it could hang out by the palace. Maybe. Yeah, let's do that. Overhaul is broken. It's either here or here. The problem is overhaul is bad early game, but if you use overhaul 2 or 3 times, then it's absolutely broken, like busted. Like it could be here if you've already used it 3 times, and you have enough plots that you can actually use all the level ups. But the first time you use it, it's more like here, because you have to have set up for it. I think we'll do this for now. Precision is... I might be valuing it a little bit. Let's just put it here for now. But I think it should be here. But I guess early game having crits maybe would help a little bit. Reinforce is down here, definitely. This is only good for rats. But actually, you don't even need the damage on the rats. The rats scale just fine. I mean, I know they nerfed the scaling on them and all, but for the purposes of the rat run, especially when you're not doing endless, like reinforce doesn't do enough. And it does nothing for any other build except the rats. So unless you're meming and doing a meme build where you use rats to level up, to empower something else, like you reinforce your elves, but then you still level the rats to infinity and beyond. I don't know. It's a meme. I'm going to put this here. I think Mangler actually might be better than it, but I'll put it here for now. That maybe like 4 or 5 stacks reinforce with a rat build and anything will reach damage cap. So yeah, it's better than the Mangler, I guess. Ballista. Ballistas are... I don't play with them enough. My vibe check on them is that they take too much investment. Maybe bottom of B is okay. Like if you can invest in them, get them a lot of attack speed, they probably one-shot the whole enemy. But can you get there by year 34? Maybe with a boar build, yeah. But they like rely on the boars to give them everything they need because they need health, they need attack speed, and they need damage. So I think that's a fair spot. I really like Cauldron. Cauldron is, yeah, around here. With the right units, Cauldron is really, really good. It's amazing in King of Stone. Maybe below the library. The library annoys me a lot. Let's put Cauldron right around here. Amazing with the Defender, by the way. Too bad the Defenders are nerfed really hard. I really want to put the Defender here, but I don't think that's fair. We'll put the Cauldron here. Great with the King of Stone, but actually decent with other factions. At least as a temporary fill-in. Not too much worse than like the Forest. So I think this is fine. Earthworks has high potential. I'm going to put it here. Earthworks is great for certain cards, like the Concabulator or the Gotcha, where you level them up a few times and then you break them into pieces and you get more plots unlocked. This is amazing if you get overwork as your policy and you were already stacking some buff plots, especially like a temple or a shrine. Then you could really just fill your board with temples. Especially temple is really, really good. And then you're using things like overhaul to level them all up. Oh, this has the potential to be up here, but most times it's just useful. If nothing else, it's give me an extra plot, which is pretty good. Even give me extra plot is around here, so we'll put it there. Flame Tower is pretty bad. Is it worse than Scout Tower? It's better than Dragon's Den, but barely. I'm gonna put it here. It's just not good. It has decent synergy with the Cauldron, but the cone is so small, and even at level 3, and even with a bunch of AoE increases from policies, it's still tiny. It's still horrible. It's actually really, really bad. I wish the AoE was increased and the cone angle was increased. It was a wider shot. It's just, and the AI is bad. Quarry. Quarry is okay. It's like a I like it about as much as I like the Blacksmith for different reasons. It hits more things, but it only hits towers, which is usually your base. And then you have to be going a tower build. But you don't have to have it right next to your base, and a lot of the best builds in the game are base builds. So you put blacksmiths, or really you put beacons next to your base, or camps, and then you fill the rest of your plots that you don't need, other than like maybe a tanky front line, you fill the rest with quarries, and you're good. I think this is a fair placement. At least for now. Strongholds, probably the best base in the game. Probably. Castle starts scaling really well. Citadel also starts scaling really well. But the problem with both of these, especially Citadel, requires perks to even be viable, but it's really good with enough attack speed because it insta kills. It's a 20% chance, but trust me, that's enough with 99 hits per second until you go to endless. Castle is really good too. Castle might be better than Citadel actually. But Castle's really good, but you do need to invest into it, give it a lot of attack speed. Fireball can help, especially early on. Stronghold. The reason why Stronghold is good is because you have to play King of Stone to get the Stronghold. And in that environment, you don't really have any good damage sources other than your Ballista. Like, the only build in King of Stone pretty much is the Stronghold build. And the Stronghold is very powerful, has a lot of policies that make it stronger. So, but you don't need them. Citadel just doesn't work without the perks. Castle's okay, but you do need to invest in it. I think given the context of playing King of Stone, I think we'll just put it here. It's very good. Actually, I think I'm going to push this up here. And this. I think Stronghold is very, very good. I want to put an S. Let's just leave it at the top of A for now. I do think it's better than Castle and Citadel, but they are competitive. I could see the argument for Castle, especially Castle being better. I think I'll push Castle up a little bit. Maybe here. I don't know. No. I changed my mind. I think Stronghold is really good. I think it's the best base. Trapper. Trapper is down here. They're fundamentally flawed. Horrible design. The AI will only... Like, the AI runs back and forth and drops a bajillion traps, which only scale at the time they snapshot from whenever they're placed. So you can add swords and poison and triple the damage, and they can have 1,000 damage. But if they left a bunch of traps that are still lying around from years 1 through 20, it doesn't matter if 21 to 30 you made like insanely powerful trappers. The traps that they leave behind, they just save whatever the trapper's damage and like poisons and whatnot were at the time. So you can have just a bunch of crap traps when you need them to kill the enemy. So because they don't inherit the stats of the current trappers, also known as they get snapshotted at the time of being put down, if you know that type of game mechanic. Because they get snapshotted, it's terrible. Trappers are bad. And then on top of that, they only leave, so they leave like a big pile of traps that go back and forth all around the possible like entrances to your base. But the enemy only runs through like roughly the middle. So they put down a bunch of traps and then they run into battle, and you just get a big buildup of traps. But the problem is the buildup of traps, you'll notice that like the top gets cleared out mostly, the middle gets cleared out entirely, and the bottom never gets touched, like ever. You have to do some really, really, really dumb, weird shenanigans, like running a bunch of goats. And even then, you're not going to pop all the traps. On average, at best case, half the traps ever get used. And then they just run through the middle where there are no more traps, and the other half of your traps are just lying around. And honestly, in many battles, 2/3 of the traps never really get procced. Terrible unit. Absolutely terrible. Only barely better than Mangler. Trebuchet. Trebuchet is... I guess it's better than these guys. I'm gonna put it here. You need a lot of buildings, but if you're running a King of Stone, you will have a lot of buildings anyway. It doesn't require towers, just buildings. So buffing buildings like Forest, Library, Cauldron will increase the number of hits. It's just not as good in other factions. I don't know why you would ever run them in another faction. Actually, you know what? Because of that, I'm going to put it here. I don't know why you would ever run into another faction. But yeah, we'll put my touch above it. I think this is fair. Just like the mercenary, honestly. Wallmaker. Wallmaker actually is okay. Wallmaker can help stall. I don't think it's that good. Put Wallmaker here. Wallmaker is great if you can regression it, because it gains, like the Defender used to, it gains 100% HP on level up, and it starts at 600 without any perks or anything. So if you can regression and level one of these up, you can start hitting like 100k really fast, like really, really fast. So in the right scenario, this will just defend you from everything. Actually decent. Actually, you know what? It's better than Defender. But you have to get there. Adrenaline. Adrenaline is really good, sadly. I hate that it's good. I actually wish it weren't a card. I think it ruined King of Time. Kind of single-handedly. And the Warper's existence. Like, those two combined. In other factions, it's really good. Is it the best enchantment? No, obviously Steel Code is. Is it the second best enchantment? No, Carnage. But it's actually close. So for high difficulty, you need to live. And because you need to live, more time passes. And because Defenders aren't really meta anymore, and Paladins are in, they'd even be good with Paladins. I'm going to put it right here below Boars. Boars make more things happen, but Adrenaline is really, really good. It's like a slightly better beacon, kind of, sort of, except you can only apply it to troops. And the more of these, the better, obviously. Although there's a cap again where it doesn't really matter anymore. I'd say like even like 4 of these, and you really feel the difference really fast, which is why Brutal is the best perk for King of Time. Amplifier is... I said there are only 7 viable cards for the King of Time, and I was memeing a little bit. There are 6 viable... Oh, sorry. So there's 7 unusable cards. There are 6 unusable cards. Adrenaline, Rewind, and Amplifier. Amplifier's pretty niche, though. I'm going to put it around... I can put it here for the sole purpose. There's only one reason why it's here. No. Move. Only one reason why it's here and not lower. It would still be C or bottom of B, but because The prophecies are very powerful. It can only be a stat prophecy though, so health, damage. But because they're so strong, and a lot of builds would really, really benefit from the prophecy, but you have to put your carry unit down usually right away. So you can manipulate where the prophecy shows up as long as you can roll damage or HP. That's the only problem. There are way too many. If there were the original number of prophecies, this would be up here. But because they added like 3 garbage prophecies that are horrible, I'm going to put this here because it's still really good at soaking up prophecies that you would never be able to get otherwise because they spawn in dumb places. Empty plots and usually in the corners. Bastion. Bastion's the worst base in the game. Not even close. I think it's noticeably bad. I think it's about here. Like, its AoE's too small, its damage is too low, its attack speed is too low. Its main utility, sending units back, doesn't really help because most units have too fast a movement speed and have too long a range. So this is only okay in King of Time. It doesn't really do anything in any other factions. It's somewhat stalls, but the AoE is too small. You can only send them back once, and you need more investment to send them back multiple times. And most units that get sent back they get like delayed for a second. Horrible. Horrible base. Absolutely horrible. Sorry. Hourglass. He can be by Scout Tower. Hourglass is terrible. But it's how you can beat high levels at Endless without lagging your computer into the ground. So we'll put him here. It's okay. But it doesn't do anything. Low difficulties, it's up here. Like, below King difficulty, it might be up here because it actually has a chance of one-shotting everything within a normal run playthrough when you know, up into the first champion. But if you're playing anything like King or beyond, it's here. It's not good enough. Orbiter. I like Orbiter. Orbiter's goofy. Orbiter can be right above Mycelium, I guess. Is it better than the Archer? It could be. With the right setup, like a library, feeding a wizard, or just library and a bunch of libraries and orbiters by themselves. If you can get a good enchantment, they're pretty good. I guess we'll leave him here for now. Maybe he's better than Executioner. But you do need, like, King of... You know, like, you need King of Spells. I'm gonna put him here. Like, he only works with King of Spells. But with King of Spells, he's bordering S tier. But you have to, like, have a bunch of libraries already set up. And you have to have Steel Coats and, I don't know, Statics or something already set up. Or maybe Adrenalines. And then he's good. It takes too much setup. Portal. Portal is required in King of Time. But it's actually a bad card. You need Wormhole for it to break even. Yeah, actually, this is about right. Portal can help you get another rainbow card from the same rainbow fight. Or, like, get a broken policy from a repeated Royal Council. But the broken policies are really only, like, really good if you have Rewind. Or you luck into, like, another loot event or the 2 random time cards. Preferably the loot event if you're not specifically trying to use Rewind. Yeah, very niche. Very hard to use. And usually just a negative card. Just doesn't help you at all. Regression. Regression's a meme card. But it does make a few units pretty good, like the wall. I'm going to put it right here. Right above Midas Touch. It enables some units. And if you've already gotten up like a Shrine that's automatic leveling things, or you've got Overhaul that's pretty scaled, Regression becomes a lot better, like up here. If you can get free level ups. But most of the times you don't get free level ups. So we're going to put it here. Thing is that you just need to know what scales really well. Like Wallmaker is great with Regression. If we're just talking about Wallmaker, we have Wallmaker and Regression. Regression is like up here. And one of the best cards you can get possible, honestly. Yeah, I think this is fair. Warper. Warpers got nerfed into the ground. I don't know, maybe around here is fair. They're still really good if you have a cemetery and you're running steel coats and they just... but yeah, in other factions, they'd be okay. You really want brutal with the 4 extra adrenalines applied to them if you're blanking a time. Like without that, they're just total garbage. In other factions, if you already are set up and then you have space, like you have a cemetery and you want just another unit to stall out for whatever reason, like you're doing a base build, maybe they'd be okay. I think here's fine. They have a similar role to mercenaries, just being a bunch of bodies for cemetery and steel coat to help you stall. They have higher potential. Early game, they're like down here. But later on, they become pretty good. Rewind. Rewind is S, if it wasn't obvious. I think here's probably fine. Rewind basically means... So you can offering and find a rewind. And then you could rewind and then get another offering. And then this, like say you started with 2 cards and you have 3 cards and one of them is offering. Offering away unit. And now you have 5 cards in hand. You got to rewind out of it. You rewind and then you get another offering and then you offering again. And then now you have 7 cards in hand. You see how rewind is busted, especially because offering is busted. You need units to offering away, obviously, but a lot of so offering gives you usually card destruction. These tomes, and clone is a tome, shields, offering itself, rewind, earthworks, which can duplicate cards, wild card, which is like a soft duplicate. Regression, which is not that good, but it's okay when you get it out of offering. Swords, which is similar story to regression. You can notice most of the tomes are good. Like mortgage and sacrifice are like the whiffs. And I get 3 sacrifices pretty often, and I get pretty angry every time it happens because it's insane how bad luck that is. Because on average, the cards that are offering are really good. And if you ever hit 1 rewind, it's basically over. You basically spiral up, like in power. Especially things like earthworks and clone that can give you more fodder for offering. So you can keep gambling and hitting rewinds and offerings again and just repeating over and over and over and over and over. And even if we weren't talking about this combo, rewind is amazing because your hand always has 2 extra cards that you may not be playing. And as you pick rewards, you usually pick a reward you want to use right away. What happens is you end up with like junk cards, like your base is already level 3 and you have a base card in your hand because, you know, this or that or the other. Or you used to have like weak cards, like a Mangler and a Demon's Altar, and you don't really have anywhere to put them. Well, rewind just gets rid of them and gets you the last cards you played, which are usually better than the ones you just got rid of. And so for that reason alone, it's pretty good. And then on top of that, rainbow cards, let's say you just got a Gigantify. You basically won the game with that, but maybe it's high difficulty. Well, guess what? Rewind gives you another Gigantify. And if you magically found another rewind, you could just have an infinite supply of Gigantifies. Because if you rewind and create more, those are new copies. So they count as most recently played. In case you didn't know, rewind replaces your hand. Like say this is my hand and I rewind this. I will get 5 cards, not 4. So the rewind doesn't get removed. It's part of the hand when I drag it to the well to trigger its effect. So it includes itself. If it did not include itself, this will be down here. Still pretty good, but like niche. It includes itself. It's amazing. So yeah, I could replace my hand of 5 here and get the last 5 cards I played, not including rewind, of course, itself. So even if you're not doing an offering build, you probably played good cards recently. So yeah, rewind is absolutely bonkers. Maybe it even deserves that. But I think Cemetery wins too many, makes sure, the Cemetery wins way too many runs. So I'm going to put it here. I think this is fair. Maybe just one 45-minute video would be better than trying to split this up in different videos. So I could just get it done with. And then, when they have a patch notes, patch 20 wasn't big enough. But next time they release balance changes, I might actually consider moving things around. I'm not going to put the rainbow cards in here. They probably get their own tier list. So I'm going to have to do that video. Maybe I'll squeeze that in a patch notes, or I don't know. I'll decide. We'll see. Either way. Offering, Cemetery, Rewind, Steel Coat, Procreate. These are broken, busted, absolutely amazing cards. And the rest of A tier is pretty good too. But if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. I think, yeah, honestly, Cemetery, the way it works, I can go into like a 20-minute video explaining everything that Cemetery does. Cemetery is like, it feels so bugged, but they're not going to change it because it's so integral now. If you said Cemetery is the best card in the game, I wouldn't disagree, honestly. Yeah, I think S tier is pretty clear. Maybe you can move more cards up, and so there might be more in S tier, but if there's any tier that's kind of debatable, honestly, the top of F tier, these three, and the bottom of C tier, to me, I don't know if I know these cards well enough. I'd say, yeah, like Hourglass to Bomber, those could move a little bit, potentially. I think they're terrible, but maybe there's something I don't know about them. Well, I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Either way, I think that wraps up this video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, Future Zhonos here. I'm back in the middle of editing, and I realized it would be nice to very, very quickly go over the King of Nothing and King of Spells cards, just in case you didn't watch the first two videos. Let's go. Offering, King of Spells, absolutely broken because it has massive card advantage. This is the Pot of Greed of 9Kings, and it's absolutely broken. Most of the things you can get are top tier. There are other S, A, or B cards. There are a couple C cards and no F cards. It gives you tomes, and tomes are like on-use consumption. They don't really stay on the character like enchantments do in a visual sense, but they're usually massive buffs or plot destruction. Amazing card. The fact that, as I said in the video, you can loop into more rewinds for more offerings makes it all the more broken. Amazing, 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 amazing card. Super great. Next down the line, we've got Steel Coat. Steel Coat is absolutely broken because this basically allows for you to turn garbage units that just have a lot of trash, but high numbers, like imps, and also just the farm in general, and especially the cemetery, absolutely broken because this absorbs the next attack that unit takes. And let's say you have one Steel Coat on 13 imps and the next to a cemetery. Well, those 13 imps can take, let's say they get one shot by anything. Let's just pretend they have 1 HP, because they might as well. They have really low HP. So instead of dying in 1 volley, now they die in 2 volleys. Oh, but you have a cemetery that imps spawn out of imps, and the imps inherit Steel Coat. So now you've turned 13 hits to 26 hits to actually doubled again to 52 hits. So you can see how insane Steel Coat is. And that's not to mention when you add more copies of Steel Coat onto the same unit, say this same imp, now he has 2 stacks of Steel Coat. Well, at a level 1 imp, assuming everything just goes 1 shot when there's not a Steel Coat, that means 26 hits from the Steel Coat, and then their original 13 base health. So that would be 39 hits, and then that's doubled, right, for the cemetery. So you see how broken it is. Now you all of a sudden you're talking about 78 hits. That's just with 1 more copy, right? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And imagine we have not 13 but 200 imps, or 200 over whatever, like the mob or something. The mob, like it's insane. It's absolutely broken. Going down the line. Paladin, because you can scale their damage and they gain HP when their damage goes up, and you already have the blacksmith in your faction, and because of cards like Gigantify that exist or Migration, there are a lot of ways to buff HP and attack. With a paladin, you can do either one and scale just fine because you really just want HP. So these guys took over the role of the defender as being the front line they can carry a game by themselves pretty easily, especially when you can supplement their unit count with a farm or a perk rate. Amazing unit. Great scaling. You want to pair them with something like Carnage, of course, to really take advantage of their high HP. But even though they fixed a bug that made them even more broken, they're still amazing. Imagine this with the damage up Prophecy and Holy. Oh my goodness. Castle is great. It has probably the most consistent base in general. It's just a really slow start. Stronghold is better at the start for sure. Castle, with some investment, can be better than the Strongholds, but you really only see the shine more than Stronghold when you can get to really high levels, or with like maybe a Fireball, especially if you're doing lower difficulty. Still, Castle's probably, you could say it might be better than Stronghold depending on playstyle. Citadel is really good because it has instant kill in its perks that the King of Spells can take. Amazing card. A little bit weaker than the Castle, but I could see them being pretty similar in power personally. Warlock is great because of the changes. Now they scale really well with tomes, which guess what's Offering gives me a bunch of? That's right, tomes. Just within their own faction, if you can find fodder to destroy with Offering regularly and then get Offering regularly, the Warlocks will scale into infinity. You just need to make sure you get like a perk rate, which guess what? That can come out of the Offering. They gain HP every time you use a tome, and it gets out of hand really fast. We've got Farm. Farm basically lets you fix the problems of some of the best units in the game, especially the Paladins and the Warlocks. Because they start with low unit count, you need ways to buff the units. Obviously, Procreate is way better, but Farm can be very respectable, especially when you take the perk with the King of Nothing. Farm is a really decent way to buff any troop, but especially a really strong, high-value troop that only has a couple units by default. A wild card is amazing because it's almost like a clone, but with a little less freedom. But still, you can level pretty much anything you want. It's pretty solid. I'd say the face of B tier really is wildcard. If you're worse than wildcard, we start debating if you're a niche unit or if you're just outright bad. And honestly, everything below wildcard is bordering on niche, where it's not good in all situations. Whereas these are pretty much good in all situations, or their niches are so absurdly strong that it's worth it. We go down to library. Library is niche, but it's really strong when it actually gets going. There are a lot of good synergies with library. It is a probabilistic, so like it's a 50% chance, but you can sort of shore that up with things like overwork. Keep in mind that only one library can duplicate up to 3 times per year. So even if you give it like 10 times or 30 times the ability to proc its ability to duplicate, say with something like regression, where you can give it more levels, it's still only 3 times. So keep that in mind, but there's still, it's decent. It's decent. So I have Combustion and Wizard and Static, and you kind of think of these as almost related to each other because of the Wizard's new ability that every enchantment makes it more powerful. I like Combustion, but it scales off of damage, so in high difficulty you want to scale HP and unit count, so that you don't always get the opportunity to scale unit, not the base, but unit damage. It's not always a leisure you have, but if you do have that leisure, Combustion is really good against factions that bundle up into groups like King of Blood or King of Greed. And especially with Wizards, it's a great combo. Static is good, but you need to have high attack speed, and you don't normally, more than damage, even more, I'd say you don't have the leisure to buff the attack speed of units, because while you do have a Blacksmith to buff a unit attack, and you have Gigantify to buff unit attack, you don't have very many ways to buff a unit's attack speed. The only ways are a Beacon, they have to go against the King of Greed, or Overinvest, which again is King of Greed, and then the Camp, but this is hard to use. And you're not like focused on attacks, but you're doing like everything all at once. Because of that, Static is just a tiny bit weaker, but it's really good after the buff for units that have high attack speed specifically. Or like a Defender could proc it well because you can be attacked a bunch, which will trigger the Static. So we have, who's next? Archers. Archers, because they have high attack speed, they have really good perks. It's not really a perk, but they do have a lot of power through the perks, but not really for them specifically, actually. It's all the units get attack speed. But that's what the Archer wants. And more importantly are the policies. That's the things you pick at the royal councils, the decrees. Those are, now you could argue that because you have to invest into them, it's not good. But on the plus side, even the non-archer specific policies are really good. Like freshman is really, really good. Doubling stats of everything. Archers have actually a pretty good stat spread, in my opinion. You don't have to invest heavy into attack. They have crazy, not as good as execution, but they have really good attack speed for a unit. And they have solid health, and they spread out. So they don't die to AoE. Great carriers for steel coat if you want to go that direction. We have the blacksmith. It's towards the bottom of B tier because it's okay. It's not even, it's not like it's not viable. You can always use a blacksmith, but it's just percent damage when most things in this game have low attack. Almost everything has like 15 or less attack at level 1. Almost everything. So blacksmith, the percent increase is very, very low for a very long time, especially because swords exist in the game, and swords aren't even that good. So because that blacksmith goes here, then we move on to, am I missing anything? I don't think so. Spire. Spire seemed cool, but it's not that good. I'd say it's great with Wallmaker, especially on low difficulty. It's just, the problem is many units die in one hit. The higher difficulty you go, especially. So I'd rather be defending with steel coats and high unit count than with Spire, because I have to be able to take hit. And the problem is a lot of enemies fire in volleys, in waves, and a lot of things are AoE. So even if individual, like one enemy attack will not one-shot your units, the problem is a lot of the time you'll just get hit by a lot of AoE all at once, or a wave of attacks all at once, or they'll all focus you. So in reality, you can't get a lot of value out of Spire, unfortunately. I love it, but it's not that good. Soldiers are okay, but they bundle up, so even with steel coat, they all clump up in a little ball, even though they made small improvements on that. So what happens is you just get AoE down. So a lot of the factions that you'd want to face just murder soldiers. And they're average and everything, which means they're not that good. And their damage is actually a little extra low because of their ability that they gain more damage based on unit count. But you need 1,000 units to start breaking over 1,000 damage naturally at level 3. So they're not good. I'm sorry. Shamans. Shamans are a funny card, a funny, silly card. They're not good. But I mean, you can make some funny builds with them. But they need another unit. And this is like one of the few units that, other than maybe the mob, and one of the few, which is probably why the mob's nearby, coincidentally. Like, the shaman just needs another unit around. They're just completely useless. And it's not like they make the other unit that good. They only buff their attack and size. If they buffed health, they'd be better. You know, like the warlords up here. But attack speed and damage is good on them, but you're not going to get those stats very easily. They're just not good. They're not good at all, honestly. Scout Tower is terrible because it has really strong attacks, but it can't kill the enemy army for you. You're still relying on castle or like paladins. Some of the units doing everything for you. Scout towers will almost never carry for you because they have low unit attack counts. Like they can't hit a lot of units. And you could argue Dispenser is a similar type of unit. It really is. The problem is Scout Tower doesn't scale enough. So like it permanently is stuck. It's like a very linear card. Whereas Dispenser like is worse and then scales to the moon. Oops. Yeah, like that. That was Spire I grabbed, isn't it? Spire was somewhere around here, wasn't it? I'll double check after the video. I think he's right here. So anyway, we've got, that's all of them, I think, yeah. So that is a quick refresher on the King of Nothing and the King of Spells. Hope you enjoyed the video. I already did my outro. I'm gonna just put this after the outro. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, if you disagree, please let me know. I will update this tier list whenever there are substantial changes. I might just throw it at the beginning of a video. I don't know if I want to make too many videos like this. They don't seem to be that popular. But either way, I hope you enjoyed even this little extra PS addendum to the video here, or the tier list I gave before it. Either way, I will catch you all next time.